In this video, I'm going to tell you 6 things about Dune Imperium. Number 1. The worker placement and deck building mechanics in this game are integrated seamlessly. When you want to send an agent to a worker placement spot in this game, you also need to play a card that has an icon matching the icon on the worker placement space. If you do not have the right cards to go to the places that you need to go to further your strategy, you will not be furthering your strategy. This creates a delicious tension between making sure that you have constructed your deck correctly, as well as waiting with bated breath as other players are going to these same highly contested worker placement spaces and praying that they don't go to the one that you need to go to. 2. It's too bad the movie hasn't come out yet. My wife Sarah and I, we are not terribly familiar with the Dune universe, and so when we played the game, the theme was really lost on us. But then we got the game to the table with a friend of ours who loves Dune. He's read the novel and he's really into it, and for him, the theme really comes to life, from how the different card abilities work to just the different machinations of the game, of how resources are tight and how you get into conflict and how there seems to be just layers upon layers of planning. And so there's things like that Sarah and I didn't get, that if the movie had come out at the same time as the game, like it was supposed to, we would have had an opportunity to dive into the universe and see how the game really does exemplify the theme really well. 3. Every round in this game is tremendously important. The game is going to end when a player reaches 10 victory points or when the conflict deck runs out, which is a 10-card deck. So at most, you're playing 10 rounds of this game only. And the victory points that you are fighting over are hugely contested. There are victory points that you can gain, but then you will lose them if another player gets higher on that same track than you are. There's other points that are available during the conflict that only the winner of that conflict for the round will get those victory points. And the other players get other rewards, but not victory points. So as you are playing round to round, you are relying on your 5 cards for that round to squeeze out 1 or 2 victory points and then hope that your next round is just as successful. So this means, unfortunately, that if you get a bum hand that you draw from your deck at the beginning of a round and you can't do a whole lot with your hand, you are missing out on quite a bit of opportunity to get ahead in this game. So for some players, that's going to be very frustrating. Number 4, Housegal is a jerk. In a 1 and 2 player version of this game, you're going to use a deck of cards called Housegal, and this simulates another player. So at the end of the first player's agent turn, you're going to flip a card over, which will have a worker placement spot on it that you will send an additional agent, blocking this space for the rest of the round for the other players. Additionally, it will have some conflict icons on the card, so you will add those conflict points to this simulated player's conflict. So at the end of the round, the simulated player is going to have a lot of conflict built up and will probably beat you in conflict. When my wife and I played this game for the first time, we were trounced by Housegal, and we just gave up trying to get victory points from the conflict because we just kept on getting beat over and over and over again by this simulated deck. So Housegal for us is a jerk, but honestly, a really smooth and neat way to simulate another player at the game. 5. The resources in this game are tremendously tight. A simplified view of this game has you collecting water to gain spice to pretty much do everything else in this game. And at the beginning of the game, there is only one viable worker placement space that gains you water. There are a couple other worker placement spaces that will get you water, but you have to do 1 or 2 additional moves in order to make those spaces available to you. And this is kind of a common thing in this game, is that you always have to do 1 or 2 extra things than what you were expecting in order to accomplish any of your strategies. And for some people, this will turn into a really satisfying, crunchy game experience. And for other people, it's going to be a bit of a turnoff because they can't just do the things they want to do as easily as they would like to do them. 6. The conflict in this game is incredibly slick. At the beginning of a round, you're going to reveal a conflict card, and that is going to indicate the reward for winning the conflict for that round. It might be a victory point, it might be an intrigue card, it might be some resources, it might be 2 victory points. So from round to round, the reward is really going to change the complexion of the conflict. On top of that, the conflict itself works in these series of steps that are particularly interesting. So on the conflict board, there's the garrison, and you're going to move troops from your play area to the garrison when you do execute particular actions. But that doesn't mean that they are contributed to the conflict just yet. You are then able to go to worker placement spaces that are conflict spaces, and at that point you can move troops directly into the conflict, as well as up to 3 additional troops from your garrison to the conflict. And so you're consistently working out this puzzle of, do I have enough troops in my garrison so that when I do a conflict action, I have troops to move from my garrison into the conflict, so that I have enough troops in the conflict to win the conflict and gain the reward. And I am not usually a fan of area control mechanisms in games. I'm not very good at it. But in this game, it is the heart of the game, while still allowing you to work on all sorts of different strategies and tactics to get other victory points. And the game works in such a way that while you're executing other strategies, you are also able to contribute to the conflict at the same time. So it does not feel like an add-on. And because from round to round the reward is different, it is also enticing to sometimes back off of the conflict in a particular round because the reward isn't what you're looking for, and to save up troops in your garrison so that you're ready to go to war when those big victory points come out. And so I think a big achievement in this game is making the conflict really tense, really puzzly, really satisfying, while not sacrificing any of the other mechanisms that are at play in this game. All right, everybody, just to wrap things up, I want to say that Dune Imperium is an excellent game. The first moment I saw and heard about it, I knew that it was going to sing on the table, and it did not disappoint. The way that all of these seemingly disparate mechanisms, area control, worker placement, deck building, work together and come out to be this amazing whole where you don't really realize that you're playing a game with any one of those particular mechanisms. You just feel like you are playing Dune Imperium. It has its own distinct identity. The fact that they pulled that off so well is amazing. Just keep in mind that this game is not going to work for you, that you are going to have to work really hard to execute your strategies. So it might not be for the family table. This might be for your game group only. But even if that is the case, it is an excellent, rewarding, seamless worker placement, deck building, area control game. Hey everybody, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit the subscribe button, to like the video, to share the video, whatever the case may be. I really appreciate it. Leave some comments down below. I want to get some dialogue going here around Dune Imperium. So if you have any thoughts, feel free to share them, and I'll talk to you next time. Have a great day.